Welcome, Nada. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for your support, for your kindness, and for being here with us with our festival. We are so excited to see you on November and more excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Habibti. Me too. I'm very excited to see all of you, and thank you so much for sponsoring me.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and start with this little interview. We want to know, how do you start to be an Oriental dancer, and how and when you start to dance?
Okay, that's the question that everybody always asks, right? Okay. Well, I like every Egyptian, I started very young, right? You dance every day, right? And then all of a sudden everybody tells you, I want you to dance again and again and again, and your family makes it obvious that you really like dancing, right? And I love it. And at age of 17, I was mentored by Hisham Saleh, Reda Troop, and he was a fantastic mentor. So I learned pretty much everything I know about folklore from him. So it started. So I started basically as a folklore dancer, not an Oriental dancer at all. And this is where all my specialty is, in the folklore, in the Egyptian folklore. And then, of course, you either an Oriental dancers then studies folklore, or a folkloric dancers and then branches into Oriental. It's very easy to branch into Oriental dance from being a folkloric dancer, rather than the other way around, where you need a lot of training, of course, you know. So that's how it became. So I didn't really, I love dancing, but I didn't plan it, and I didn't. I wasn't, it wasn't like when I was 4 years old, I said I want to become a dancer. It's just something that, you know what I mean? It just happened to be. I love it. I'm good at it. And I have actually a degree in law. I have two businesses in tourism. So I have a lot of other areas that I'm very, my education. But for dance, it was just something that my passion went into it unconsciously and completely unplanned and completely natural. Just took me there. It's a trip that it's done by nature and by the universe, you know.
Yes, it's something that comes naturally.
Yeah. I'm a big believer of going with the flow, and I think it's very nice to feel something and you just let yourself do it without too much. I don't want to use too much planning, because there is planning, of course, in our kind of work, and there's a lot of studying and there's a lot of work on that. But I mean, I don't like to push things. I like to just go with everything. And I'm a big believer that if this is meant to be for me, then it's for me. If it's not, then it's probably better off not to. So that's my approach to it, you know. I enjoy it. Simply, I enjoy it, you know. Yeah.
Perfect. So, Nada, and how was with your family this part of you want to be a dancer? They were agree? Was how was in a family? Because sometimes we think that in the Egyptian family it's not the
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
correct have a dancer in family. So,
Yeah.
how was it in your family?
I have a really strange family because even though I mean, they are conservative. My father was very interesting. He really liked art and liked to watch dancers, you know, like Fifi Abdo and other old dancers, Tania Gamels and all the old dancers, you know. So I grew up in our household where um, I watched dance all the time, and it was liked, you know, like my dad would sit and enjoy watching it and stuff like that. And even though I grew half of my life with my dad and half of my life with my grandmother. So as if approvement, of course, like every Egyptian man does not want his daughter to become a dancer, because it's not really a career, and also because it already has a stigma, especially back then. Like now, they are much more free. There's much more freedom about what you want to do than before, you know. But what happened is I was really obsessed with Egyptian folklore, and and they didn't seem to mind that sector very much because it was represented politely and respectfully on theaters and on it looked more artistically than cabaret style sort of dance and stuff like that. I mean, I have not done cabaret work, and I think if I have branched into the cabaret work, I think that would have been a big problem with my family for sure. So how they feel, they're kind of like, I don't want to know all the details about what you do, but in the same time, I can't stop you. So that's kind of like their approach. They watched me? Yes, they've watched me many times, especially in TV, because I had some shows on TV and stuff. So whether they watched me accidentally, that I all of a sudden came on the TV, or not, but my sisters, of course, they watch me all the time, yeah, all the time. My brother too and stuff. But of course, there's still that little, my dad passed away a couple of years ago, but of course there's that little, I'm not going to sit down and tell him everything about that I do. It's not that kind of conversation, because there's still that kind of like, I don't want to know, because if I know, that means I have to agree 100% with it. So it was a very interesting, but they never really fought me or treated me badly or disrespected me. I mean, they knew me. I'm their daughter. They knew that I'm respectful, and I respect myself, and I respect the art form. So even though they didn't agree with it, but they didn't also fight me.
Okay.
But
yeah,
that's not the normal though in Egypt. Like a lot of times, the big stress and a big
exactly.
I don't want to know you anymore. You're not my daughter, and etc. right? But I just happen to have this kind of circumstances, which is still not like my uncles completely didn't want to talk to me. Still, they don't want to talk to me, but I don't really care because I don't like them anymore. Anyway,
exactly.
so it didn't really bother me.
Yeah, this is very, because with all the major Egyptian dancer has this problem with their family. They're not want to be close of them, or they are ashamed of them. But
Yeah.
it's so nice to hear that maybe it's not according 100%, but they can live with that. No,
it's changed a lot. Like, I mean, people really should understand that too, because we kind of speak of history, like things have changed quite a lot in the last 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, I remember back then, there's no way in earth my sister's husband would have introduced me to somebody that I'm a dancer ever, and now it's not a big deal. Like, it's not like the end of the world if you say, oh, my sister is a dancer. It's not very, of course there's still going to be families that are very very, very, very traditional, that this is something is really scary to hear. But overall, things have changed quite a lot. Like, women have had a lot of they have liberated themselves way, way more than when I grew up there when I was very young.
Yeah, the time goes, and the mind were more open, and
yeah,
even in an Egyptian society, no?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, in Egyptian society, like, I mean, men still, it's Egyptian men are very interesting, and not all of them, but a lot of them. They can help. Some of them respect it for the sake of watching, and this is an art, or this is an enjoyment, and some of them are just not, don't look at it this way. They look at it as just a body, or naked body, or this stuff. And that's why I always say we have to always really watch for how we present the art form, because it's us who tell them respect me or don't respect me.
Exactly. So you said something very interesting about you started studying folklore. So it comes from if we think about all the Reda troupe works. So it's still being a so respectable profession, being in a folklore dancer until now. I mean, so if you don't start your study maybe in a folklore, if you will start it in a cabaret, the story maybe what's different.
Yeah, it's So usually most dancers have background either on Oriental style or on folklore style. If you're in folklore style, usually they would branch into Oriental. Most of the dancers is because you make way more money in Oriental dance because it's commercialized, right? You can dance in hotels, you can dance in casinos, you can dance in so many places, right? You can make good money out of it. But folklore is usually is dance companies that are, you know, that I mean, if you are one of the respectful, well-known companies, they are controlled by the government, they're sponsored by the government, so the pay is very little, and a lot of time there's no pay. The pay is like not to mention because you're just doing it because you love it, right? That's it. Yeah. So when you're dancing in folklore, of course, and thanks to Ustaz Mahmoud Reda, you know, the legendary Mahmoud Reda, is that he made that art form, our traditions, not get lost and represented in a very respectful manner on stage. And that helped some of us who's like fond of dance to be able to stand and dance, and our parents or our family don't disagree with it. And the environment is usually stage and theaters. So it's a very contained and a very, you know, it's like theaters, like going to theater or going to the pub, right? Or the nightclub, sorry, nightclub that would be in the West, right? So it's a two different environment. Women who works on, I mean, dancers who works on the nightclubs or the hotels, they work hard because it's so hard to navigate through all this audience and these some sick men, some sick managements. You know, it's a very tough business and very tough. Makes good money, but it's still tough. You know, I mean, I hope it still makes good money because now we have a lot of competition from a lot of dancers from all over the world there, right? So, but it's a tough business, and then you have good dancers and not very good dancers. You have good dancers who respect themselves, they do their shows and they run home, and you have dancers who the representation of everything is just trashy and but that's, you know, that's the way any art form is. You have the good and you have the bad, you know.
Exactly. I think that most in Oriental dance we have two ways to go: the theater and the art, seeing like an real art or an entertainment. No, I think that we can choose in working in a nightclub and different ways that being a theater and being more than show. No.
But Stephanie Habibti, like a show in the old days, of course, you know, in the old days, a show in a nightclub was still art back then.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Was still art. In fact, they didn't just do dance. They did dance. They did skits of comedy. They did, you know what I mean? They did singing. They did so many things. So, and we still have some, like in some hotels, you can go and watch a really good show of a good dancer, you know, on stage or representing a good idea and stuff like that. We still have some ideas like that. It's just not as common anymore because, of course, undercutting the market kills the market. If every dancer that comes looking for building her CV, she charged $20 or $100 and really like unheard of amount of money, small amount of money, of course that's going to destroy the market for the prestigious dancers who have been working for very many years and that charges what they are worth, you know, the money. So, and when this happens, when McDonald's comes over, then good restaurants can't feed, you know, can't work because the audience or the people who eat don't really see the difference between gourmet food and cheap food,
Exactly.
you know. And that's it's a big problem. So all I'm saying, theater is very good. They're both completely different perspective of representing the art form, you know. But also nightclubs or like a casino, like what we used to, like Casino Opera and all these places that we used to produce such a beautiful artistic art. It was also an entertainment, but entertainment artistically. Artistically, it's like the opera, like going and seeing something really well done and well presented with respect of costuming, presentation, feelings, orchestra. It well put from every direction, you know. So it's not the idea of nightclub or theater. No, they are completely different aspects, and both of them delivered different artistic idea and different atmosphere. Seeing a theater show from one or three angles is different than seeing an art done in a full circle. You know, it's three-dimension. They're both fantastic. It's just depend how and where and what.
Exactly. Do you remember something that Hossam Ramsey told me, that he loves to go to the casino or the restaurant to see the dancer, and he was learning from them because they are presenting a beautiful dancer with an amazing musical interpretation. So he learned very, very much for them, this dancer in a closed stage in a restaurant and something like that. But now in in our days, it's not easy to find something like that, because the audience change. I think that maybe it's the public or the people who join these places are more foreign. Maybe it's not a local people, and the show have to change. It's what I think.
It's unfortunate because I think, and I am a true believer, that we change, we educate the audience, and we as an artist are ambassadors of representing great art and educate audience and tell them how to look at us. Do you see what I mean? And I think this amateur, I can't say everybody, they're always good dancers, and I said, and not good dancers. I cannot really say, that there is like one type, no. But all I'm saying that unfortunately the market have been flooded with amateur dancers who and I feel sorry for them. I don't even blame them, because I feel that they were not guided right, or they were not told. I'm sure some were told and still did it, but I feel that there is something lost in translation there. They're like little babies who we throw them in the street, and now they became thieves, and now we're complaining why they are thieves. Well, where are we? We have to educate them, and we have to educate them for free on social medias. We have to tell them how it should be, and we have to take care of it, and we have to do our best to help them to see the right way, because I'm sure nobody wants to be a bad artist. Nobody wants to be a bad human. We're all born to be heroes. We love to be idealized, to become heroes. We want to be Nara al-Masriya, the best dancer, such and such, the best, like that. So inside us, we actually have good message. It just, we need help, and these dancers need help, and we need to help them, you know?
Exactly. And that's helped me to ask you the next question. It's exactly why it's so important for us as a dancer learn from an Egyptian teacher.
Okay. I mean, I may surprise you a little bit in the answer here, because I think you're expecting me to say just study with an Egyptian, but no. Listen, I'll tell you something, and it's something that all the dancers need to really understand and really need to learn. Everybody needs to understand that Egypt have always been Hollywood of the East. We've always been in cinema and dance and singing. All type of art that develops in Egypt, it was Hollywood of the East. What does that mean? It means that we have had dancers for centuries and centuries and centuries from all over the world that comes to dance and to become artists and to make it big in Egypt. You see what I mean? That means that a lot of the beautiful names that we have as well, we have a lot of Egyptians, but we also have some foreigners, you know? We have dancers, famous dancers that are not, famous singers that are not Egyptian. And what I'm trying to say to everybody is yes, of course, Egypt is the mother of this art now, and we have so much knowledge and we have so much history, and we are lucky. Us and not all Egyptian, I'm going to tell you that not all Egyptians, okay? That some Egyptians study, some don't, some are educated, some aren't, and the rule goes in the same way around as well. There will be some foreigner artists that have spent all their life there, and they have learned as much as I know about my culture, because they lived there, they studied, they understood it very, very well, and they respected it and they utilized it right. Because living there doesn't mean that you are Egyptian, and doesn't mean that you know our art form, you know. It doesn't mean that. If you are really, really lived there, respected it, presented right, studied, learned as much as you can. And there are some beautiful artists that are not Egyptian that I respect, and I have so much respect for them, you know, and I love watching them. So all I'm saying, look, Stephanie, not everybody, Habibti, is going to be an artist. You understand? There are always going to be tons of dancers, plenty of dancers, but only artists you count on the hands, Habibti. You see? Because why? Not because they are not good or this or that or any of that. It's because to become an artist, you must have devotion, respect. You know, you have devotion, respect, and you totally are in it for the art form. This is not a small job. This is a full-time job. This is a job of discipline. This is a job of love. This is so much. Like a lot of Egyptian artists, and I know a lot of them have devoted their life to the art form. They have, you know, left the husbands behind. They are not married. You know what I mean? They are just really worked so hard. They navigated through hate from men, and men assaulting them, abusing them, and all the stuff. And why they kept going is because they are devoted to the art form. They are really devoted to the art form. So all I'm trying to say is to learn, of course. If I'm going to speak English, I want to learn it from an English speaker. If I have the opportunity, you know what I mean? If I have the opportunity, why not choose the ones that speaks? But not everybody not only speaks English, but educated as a teacher on that and have the capability to teach. You see what I mean? So when choosing, I don't want people to ask just if Egyptian or not Egyptian. I want you to ask Egyptian and what the credentials is, and what their credentials in that field or in that type, you know, because we are all, there's a lot of us Egyptians, and each one has expertise on things and gifted. You need a gift, you need discipline, you need devotion, you need practice. All of these has to be there in order for you to be a good ambassador to give and to help the rest of the dancers. So I don't want to say just Egyptian. I say there are, and again, there are few in the world Egyptian, and there are few, even fewer in the world non-Egyptian that actually have the capability and have the information and the knowledge to share with you and teach you right. You understand? So you as an artist, you are the one who's spending your money, right? So you have to be clever with that money. You have to be clever with that money, and you have to research. And I know, of course, it's so easy for everybody. Nada al-Masriya said, study only with Nada, such and such, study only with such. You know, I know you are also frustrated, and everybody's frustrated. I say, make a research, search the idea and look, and then believe me, you know, search what information, search how they teach, search, find, do as much research as you can. And when you choose, at least you've done your best, you know. So with Egyptian artists, of course, the majority of artists who are well educated with the art form, of course, they're going to have to be Egyptian, but not because foreigner artists are bad or not educated. No, it's because I am older than you, for example. I have been studying this for 20 years. You have only studied for 4 years. So it's just that kind of matter will change how much information you know, and how much that, assuming, of course, the Egyptian artists are studying and know what they're talking about, you know, and stuff. So all I'm saying, I encourage everybody, but I want you to really think smart when you're choosing your teacher, and the focus. Don't keep jumping from one to one. Study a little time with you know, take a time and say this this what is it, style I want to study, and I see that she is famous, obviously the whole world is talking about this person on that style, let me focus with her for 6 months or so, and then let me move on to the next artist, let me go to another artist, because that kind of like one workshop here, one workshop here, one workshop here doesn't help. Doesn't help you. It confuses you, because my way of teaching is different than other artists. Every artist way of even representing the knowledge is different. So if you focus on that particular style, that person is their expertise in it, you're gonna gain more, and then go to the next one. I'm not saying stuck forever, because then if you stuck forever, you're also killing yourself slowly, because then you will never develop. So there is a sense of how to learn, and how to choose the right artist to teach you. But I will go back and say, of course, Egypt is the mother of the art form, but there are few numbers on my hand. My hand doesn't even fill them, of foreigners that I have so much respect for them, and I think they are as qualified in our art form too. But mainly, think Egyptian artists. And then if you're going to research for those few nice artists in both, whether Egyptian or non-Egyptian, because for me, they're equal.
Yes, it is very interesting. We were talking in the morning with Tatiana from Russia, and she tell us exactly the same. We have to study, we have to check the difference between the dancers, between the teachers, and we have to study folklore. It's the same thing that you are sharing with us. And the way that the teachers has to share the knowledge, I mean, for me, I only take one class with you, and your words are in my head all the time. You said I teach emotion, no movement. So it was like, my God, I never seen the dance like an emotion. So, and it's very interesting to see how even I was taking classes with many Egyptian teachers and dancers. Nobody told me that. So it was very interesting, and not be stuck in.
Can I say something small here, Stephanie? Not to interrupt you, but for my colleague Egyptians on the art form, I just have to make sure that you guys understand something, that it is so difficult to communicate with a language that is not your language, and it's so difficult when you don't speak the language too. So those my colleagues think exactly like what I think, or at least the majority, and the few that I think they are professional in the world. You see what I mean? Of Egyptians. But what really stops them is the language. They want to express, but then sometimes the words come completely different than what they are trying to say. You understand? Because I've seen them, and I've we've talked to some of them, are my friends, and I'm like, you said that? No, I didn't mean it this way. I meant it this way. You see what I mean? So you all have to understand that language is a big problem. That these artists that maybe they haven't said what I just said, and you heard in my workshop, that they believe the exact same thing. It just haven't come across. And another thing I explained before, I said, you guys have to understand that before we're teachers, we were dancers. We spend all our life dancers. We only start teaching when the world said, wait a minute, I want to learn this art form. And we kind of like motherhood, we just have a baby and we have to raise them. Oh my God, what do we do? We don't know how to teach. How do we teach that? How folklore has structure. We know how to teach folklore, but how to teach Oriental style, you know? And that kind of perspective made us confused, and in the same times made us learn as we go. So as we are advancing or becoming better teachers, you are becoming better students, and vice versa. It's not like the Egyptian artists meant to give wrong information, or they didn't, oh no, they never thought about emotions. No, they think exactly the same like me, and I'm defending them because it's the truth, not for anything else, not because they're Egyptian or non-Egyptian. Because I know them, I'm defending them because I know every single Egyptian artist who are well-known name, and we talk together, and they believe exactly the same way I believe. It's just they haven't communicated because of the language.
Exactly. It's every teacher has a different ways to express their knowledge and share their own style, their own dancing, and it's very, for me, it was very, very lovely workshop, and learning from you and hear those words, it caused me like a breakdown, and let me see my dance, my movements, in a different way. So it was, I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm so excited because
Thank you
it
so much.
helped me a lot. So it's very interesting that everybody it's be able to learn from you and see different ways to see maybe the same movements or the same dance, because it's the same dance, but every teacher has a different way to express and share. For me, it's very, very good.
Wonderful.
So the next question is, um, how important, but well, you answered this question, but I want to make it again. How important it's for us study folklore?
Oh, I probably can speak for 2 hours about that. So I'm going to try to make it short. Okay. I'm not going to tell you how important. I'm going to tell you only one thing. I'm going to tell you, think about it. Okay. Think about it. How? Think about, we always, and all students always ask me, Nada, how do I make my expression? How do I feel? How do I express this? Expression, feelings, gestures, all these kind of stuff. Where do they come from? They come from our culture. They come from a particular culture, a particular style of culture. Do you understand? And every single one of them has a different expression, different gesture, different feelings, etc., etc., etc. Different music, different everything, different costuming. How can I be an Oriental dancer that is really good and professional, where the music is going to be jam-packed with all these styles and giving me hints of all these styles, and I don't know anything about them? I'm pretending I know Saidi woman. You know, I'm pretending to know Baladi woman, but my move look the same. I'm Oriental dancer, I'm Saidi woman, I am Alexandrian woman, it doesn't matter. I'm all of them the same. How can I make an amazing piece of art that people can feel and go through the trip with me of the emotions and the changes and the dynamic and all the stuff if I don't study folklore? You don't live in Egypt. You didn't grow up to see Upper Egyptian women beside you, or you go visit them, or your father is from the countryside and you go and you live between them and you see their habits, their costumes, the way they dress, the way they talk, everything, right? Same thing with all Alexandrians and etc., etc. So we as Egyptians grow up to see all these cultures around us. I grew up in Cairo. My father's from Delta, you know, from the farmer section, right? But we still had to study folklore because we need to understand the culture, but also the most important thing is the footwork. Where is your footwork? Where is your frame? Now, Oriental, traditionally done in 1 foot by 1 foot, because it's all articulations and all in the isolations and the layering of the work on top of each other, right? That's Oriental dance. We made Oriental dance stage work. We made it fit for stage and big traveling spaces by adding Egyptian folklore footwork. Now, where is your footwork? Where is your, so think about like this. We have the brain and we have the body, right? You can't have one or the other. So folklore and Oriental like that, the brain and the body. If you have one and not the other, they are useless. You have the brain but no body, what you're going to do with the brain? And I always say brain is the folklore, by the way. Body is the Oriental. You know, you have the Oriental dance stuff. What are you going to do with it if you don't have the brain? Where is the brain to work this beautiful isolation on top of those fancy traveling steps and the footwork and the fascinating, complicated footwork that comes in folklore?
So complicated.
Yes, absolutely. Like, I mean, no matter what, you could, no skipping folklore. That's a big mistake. Any artist, any dancers that skips Egyptian folklore, learning Egyptian, you are not going to be better than Samia Gamal or Tahia Karyoka or Fifi Abdu or no. These people had to study folklore. The one that started Oriental had to bring a trainer to train her before she goes to the stage into her repertoire and give her the footwork that she needs, you know. Naima Akif, her brother, was like designing everything and teaching her, right? And all the artists like this, or you are from a folklore background and you're moving into Oriental, it's much easier because all you have to do is control your muscles and just, you know, build up on the ideas. It's much easier to do the other way around. You see what I mean? So absolutely, absolutely study folklore, please. I beg you. You will be much more educated, much more smarter, much more fluent on the language of our art form.
Yes, I want to ask you this question because maybe we see many folklore classes, but they are not completely, I mean, they are not talking about especially footwork that is very special and make, how do you say it, the Baladi and the Saidi or at the same way. But so we have to learn folklore, but in a correct way.
Yes, yes. Folklore, like I'm telling you, folklore is a very difficult topic and very important to learn from somebody who have had years of education under their belt. They are, I'm not going to say just Egyptians, because there are a few foreigners that I would say, yes, I stand for them. They could be teaching that. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to mention name because if I mention one name, then maybe my friends will say you haven't said my name too. So I don't want anybody to be upset with me. But there are names that have spent years and years and years in the Reda troupe and with Mahmoud Reda. You know what I mean? And some, and listen, not everybody studied with Mahmoud Reda and studied their foreigners that still a good folkloric dancer. Do you understand? No, or as folkloric teacher. You have to understand that you just need to research. You just need to research. There are dancers from Egyptians and from folklore, and they are teaching their ideas of folklore, which is not necessarily true. Do you see what I mean? It's all complicated in a sense of like you need to do your research and you need to understand it. You need to understand that whoever's teaching you is teaching you female folklore, not male folklore. This is very important because when I went to China, I was shocked, you know. I was shocked. I think I had to judge like 200 dancers that a whole day of judging, and not a single folklore was folklore of female. It was all completely male work. So you have to understand that, and you have to tell the teacher if he's male, please teach me female work, or you as an organizer say, please teach female work, and if you're going to teach male work, please tell us it is male work, because I can't be wearing two slits and Saidi and I'm dancing sticking my heel up like a man. It just does not work like that. There are details for women. There are plenty of footwork and the move for women, and there are plenty of moves for men. Okay, and you as a female need to work the folkloric female movement and represent it that way. You have to understand that if a female dancer, Egyptian or a male, is stylizing the folklore, is because they had enough of it. They have been dancing it for many million years. They are tired. They're trying to find something to something new, something to make them famous, something to attract the audience, something, all the stuff. So, and you have to understand that this is good for them because they want to be creative. I respect them, right? But you are just started. You need to build your roots. We already have roots. So if we go up and do something crazy, we are going to come back to our roots. But if you don't have roots and you haven't learned your roots and you go up to do something, you're going to fall down.
Yes. Because I think that in this time, it's more easy for us as a dancers or teachers has those kind of information. But many, 10 or 50 years ago, we don't have this information. So I remember going on a festival in Cairo. So I took then a class for Saidi or whatever folklore, but I don't know if it is for men or a woman.
Yes,
so
yes,
and
yes.
then I come back to my school and I teach what I learned, but I don't have the correct information. But at this time, and with I called you all of you, the new era of teachers, Egyptian teachers, who are sharing this information and tell us there are some steps for women, some steps for men. This is a different kind of folklore.
Stephanie, it's also because we neglected our old generation. Do you see what I mean? The whole world is going in a trend. Oh my God, you know, such and such new artist, Nada Masriya. And I'm not, I don't want, I'm happy. Thank you. I love you all. And thank you so much for respecting me and really wanting me and everything. But, you know, our old artists, have knowledge nobody of the new generation knows. Do you see what I mean? But for some reason, there's a new fashion of stylizing our style, you know what I mean? And looking down at our old artists as like, no, it's old fashioned. Our art is old fashioned. And if it goes out of that old fashion, it's not our art form anymore. No matter, just call it anything else, you know? You see what I mean? So I totally agree with you. Like, I mean, it's hard for you to know what type of this stuff. How do I know? Like, you're telling me to learn, but nobody's telling me. And I know a lot of Egyptian artists as well are trying their best to now educate and talk and research before they talk and all that stuff. And I remember my first video for the public to educate. From my free videos, I was terrified because I hate talking to nobody, like to screen. I just get terrified. I can dance, I can be anything, I can talk to you, I can talk to everybody, I have no problem. But to talk to just a screen, it was terrifying for me. I'm like, I can't do this is just crazy. And I remember I got so fed up with some wrong information out there and some presentation that I said, okay, I'm going to try. I'm really going to try, you know? And I was so happy that I got comfortable a little bit to talk to myself, I guess, to the video and record these videos, because I really felt the need for everybody to learn this important information, very important information, and for free, because these are important for us to protect our art form. And when I say art form, I'm not saying us as Egyptian, all of us who's artists, and this is their passion and this is their devotion. So we all have to protect it.
Yes, exactly. So if we love the dance, but it's not our art. We love as a own, but it's not for us. This is something that we learn and we study, and we have to receive the most information, the clear information, to continue doing the things well, because finally, we are not in this culture. We are not Arabic or Egyptian or Lebanon or whatever. So we have to learn more and more to be to make the things right. And make it...
Wallahi, we all too, yes, Stephanie. Yani everybody think, oh, you're Egyptian, you don't really need to study much. That's not true. Because I'm Egyptian, I have to study more than you. Because the thing is, it's one thing to be born with something, you see it every day in front of you, and another thing that you need to explain to somebody. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to explain that? Do you see? So actually, there is more research. Like every time I do a video, even though I've learned the information since I was young, 17 years old, but then I'm like, but what if it is wrong? Let me ask again. And I go to my resources. I'm like, okay, what do you think about that? Is this right? Is this my information 1, 2, 3, 4? And oftenly, and I'm going to say some names now because I really respect them when it comes to this, because they help you guys. They are behind the scene, my sources, and I respect them. But a lot of times, if it's music, I go to Dr. George Sawa, who is a historian, 50 years, of music, renowned by the opera, Egyptian opera, and also Juno nominated. The other time, Mohammed Qazafi is like the history of the Reda troupe. He knows the ins and outs from Mahmoud Reda and Farida Fahmi. Dua Salam, she's my sister, and she's as knowledgeable as the Qazafi. And all these people I get and I gather, I gather and I verify. I want to use the word verify my information before I put it out to the public. And whatever sources that needed, depend on the topic, I go to the right source that needs. And this is what I urge everybody, is that before you say anything, just ask, and ask more than one person. See, I'm asking Egyptian, but I said, what if he forgot this? What if he said it wrong and this is how he learned it wrong? Let me ask another person. For me, 3 people have to agree on the same idea before I bring it to the public, and with some proof. So where is it in history? Give me an example. Show me a video, show me a movie from the old days that shows and supports what you're saying. Or if you're academic, show me that academia research that you've done about this. And this is the future of our art form, ya Banat. That's the future of our art form. The Egyptians are notifying and understanding. They are realizing that they need to research before they say anything.
Yes, exactly. So as you, as the biggest teacher, the biggest dancer, have the responsibility to give us the knowledge, the correct knowledge, and to growing up this community of Oriental dance. Yes, I agree. So talking about these gestures or manners in the Oriental dance, we saw sometimes many dancers doing faces like a pain or gesture, or I mean, this is necessary when we are doing with or Egyptian flavor, or it's just copy, or what do you think about it?
It's cute. No. Okay, listen. I say this, I say, if it's a student, when a student learns, students like a kid, they have to imitate to learn, okay? And if she's a student, she has the right to imitate and pretend that she understands, even though it looks she doesn't understand yet because she's still so young. You understand? In the art form. And it's very adorable and cute, But when you bring a professional that goes to teach internationally and a renowned name and to call myself, I am a professional dancer and does this, there's a problem. And it's not good for her and not good for everybody. Number one, the one thing that the audience understands very well is feelings. Audience may not understand if you done the hip circle right or the hip kick right or your 3/4 shimmy right, but they will understand when you're faking it, and that's something is a no for a professional dancer, because the reason a dancer become professional and become liked and loved and popular, number one is because she's born with a gift. Number two is because she hunts that gift and takes care of it and make it grow, Number three is because of that gift, she has a natural presence on stage. And that natural presence on stage comes from true feeling and true flow with the moment of the music and flow with the presentation of whatever she's doing. If you have reached that point, the audience loves you. They haven't even broke down what you've done on stage, but they are addicted to you. Do you understand? So if I'm there to pretend and to force the emotion out of my body and to change my facial thing just to look like Nada or look like other dancers, whatever is Egyptian dancers, then I am working too hard, and believe me, the audience is going to see it. Okay, if you want to impress Egyptians, you are looking to be present and to develop your own style naturally for you. Who are you for real inside yourself is what you're showing us. You know what I mean? If you are looking to impress a non-Egyptian artist or non-Egyptian audience, you're going to fail too, because I told you, the only thing human beings understand is our feeling. I look at you, I know you're faking it or you're saying the truth. And if you're faking it and you're shaking your head with pain and pretending that you're not really feeling that phrase, we're not going to want to see it, and nobody's going to want to see it. So I know you're trying hard if you're a student. So I bow for you and I say, work hard. You're a student. Good for you. Yes, imitate, until you get it in your body. But if you're a professional, you don't want to do that at all. Absolutely no. How to learn this? This is not something to be learned. This is feeling. You understand it if you understand music, if you understand how to make yourself relaxed on stage, how to be present, how to represent the idea effortless.
Yeah, you're here. You
I'm
were
here.
frozen, but now you're okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So could you tell us some real gestures that has a meaning for an Egyptian culture?
I mean, I can tell you some, but it's not to teach it. I refuse to teach gestures in my classes because I explain if I do a gesture in a choreography what it means, and I say to them that they have to really understand the word and they have to be able to say it as it's happening. Because if you're not saying it inside your heart as it's happening, it's going to look fake, you know. But we do have, and depending on the style, every style has a specific gesture, you know. And if you want to learn a lot of gestures, my advice for you is to watch Egyptian cinema, especially black and white, you know. So make it part of your education to watch a movie, one movie a week, and just sit down. You don't need to understand what they're saying, you know. You just need to see how they're behaving, and then all of a sudden it'll make sense. All of a sudden you'll see when you do this, what does that mean? You know, when you do this, what does that mean? You know, you'll see it because you'll see it on perspective. On the art form, but I refuse. I say to my students, I won't just come up with gesture and say let's learn it. I will teach you a phrase of musicality that gesture is embedded onto it, and I'm going to ask you to say the word inside your head until it becomes truthful. So when you say it and you do it, you really understand what is that gesture.
Yeah, it's very common maybe in our days, or it's maybe something that all the dancers want to do and want to learn, and maybe they are dancing like a Bollywood with so many, doing many things with the hands or with the, I don't know, with the head, and sometimes we don't know even where that's the meaning. So
Yeah,
that's the question,
yeah.
because we see
Folklore.
it.
You will understand all this in folklore, Stefan. All this in folklore.
So we have to study folklore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, the next question is, when you see any Occidental dancer on stage, what makes you say that he or she has a Egyptian flavor?
Wow, this is a difficult question. Okay, like you mean if she's a foreigner, but she
Exactly.
has Egyptian flavor. For me is a lot of things actually. So there are things from understanding the music and that the expression is nailed to the sound, effortless and from the heart, you know. But also there's a technical parts that shows me, even if she's so good at expressing and being present, that as a technical way of executing the moves, that tells me if she has Egyptian flavor or not. For example, you probably heard that in my workshop, is that Egyptian, we attend to flow and layer effortless from one part of the body to the next part of the body. There's no straight, big, thick lines in between and divisions of between movements, you know. While a lot of artists who are non-Egyptian, you can see that they are completely isolating every section, and it's very clear. It's almost like you can take a pen and paper and write, she have done 4 chest lefts and 3 and straight like that. But when you come to Egyptian, you can never say it's chest lefts because you don't know if it was a chest left or chest left undulation or chest left undulation twist or chest left undulation figure. You just can't understand the dimension that easy, you know. And partially because we feel and we just we don't break down rigid choreographies in a way. Another thing with technique is the structure of the legs. We have all studied a little bit of ballet to help us with our balance. However, we didn't turn into ballerinas. So our legs has a nice stretch on our body and we have good balance, but we don't have that spine stretch, that it's very rigid and very in a way, very disconnected with the art form movement. So all these details tells me if an artist is Egyptian or not Egyptian, you know? Yeah.
Yes. Now, the layers and the movements coming up and down at your workshop, oh my God, they were so difficult. No, no, no. No se pueden perder, I'm going to translate it in Spanish, no se pueden perder este taller con la maestra Nada porque es un reto completamente diferente, sean básicos, intermedios, avanzados, no importa el nivel, trabajar esa forma de técnica de los movimientos, pero unidos, no tanta disociación, es de verdad muy retante. I'm telling them that working in this way with not breaking down all the body, it's a completely challenge. It doesn't matter if we are basic, intermediate, or advanced level. It's very hard work in this technique. So they cannot miss your workshop.
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, oh my God, I forgot many answers. We talk about, what did you think about this kind of evolution and fusion with the Oriental dance that we could see in our days?
Fusion, you said? You fusion dance?
Fusion, yes.
With the Oriental dance? With the Oriental dance? Oh, I mean, I am, as you probably know, I'm very classical woman, and I'm not against any fusion ideas because I believe what one of the wisdom Mahmoud Rida said. He said, art is never bad. Is, you know, it's the person that's doing it is doing a good idea or bad, like they're presenting the idea right or not. Do you know what I mean? So if there is an idea and it's done and it's honest and it's completely from the heart and it's well presented, well studied, and well put together, sure, I will see it and I will appreciate it. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a lot of fusion in a sense of like, I don't know this art very well. I don't know this art very well. So I took one move from here, put it together. I made my own idea because this is my own style. There's not such a thing called style. Is different. I think you need to understand what's the meaning of style, what the meaning of this is my style. When you say that word, what do you refer to? It's like taking a language. I learn one word German, one word English, and I put them together in a sentence, and please understand me. You know, nobody will understand you because you didn't study everyone very well and put a well done conversation that has breaks of German language and then English language, and then made everybody take their time to understand which section, what it means. Did you understand? And people don't understand that fusion, that word is now being locked down at it, but originally it was a very good word. It's a creativity of taking well-studied two ideas, well-studied very, 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 very well, and you are sick of them both, that you're trying to make something new out of them. You know, and I say my Egyptian artists do fusionize because they have studied that damn art form for many years, and now they're trying to come up with something new, you know, or something fascinating, or something. Okay, what if I do this, and what if I do that? You know, and stuff. And again, fusionizing is something, and adding a flavor of something different. Do you understand? Like you know, our old artists like Sami Gaman, Tahya Carioca, they added flavor. They didn't fusionize. They added flavor. They may do a little bit of samba, you know, one move, two moves, three moves, depends on the flavor, but they didn't fusionize it. The music told them, please do a little bit of that here, and they just did one move. They didn't went into like, I'm going to be a flamenco dancer and now I'm going to do Oriental flamenco, and I have never studied flamenco, what it looks like, you know. They don't dare to do it that complicated. Do you see what I mean? So yeah. But again, I will go back and tell you, I'm a very classical artist. I really love my favorite era. You probably already know it's from 1800 to the 40s, late 40s, maybe beginning of 50s. You know what I mean? That's really my favorite era, and partially because of the elegance and respect and the sophistications of the moves and it's like a very complicated. Very complicated, sophisticated conversation. You really have to pay attention. It's like philosophy. It's like philosophy, you know? It's a very, very philosophical representation of our art, where now it's right at your face. Hey, did you know this is the chest left? You know, yes, I did. I did. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm more of that old time. I like it. I like it better. It's more my theme, you know.
It's more difficult. This specifically this dance at the time. So every single note of the music has a movement in a very close space.
Yes.
Very...
Yeah, and you can watch it over and over and over, and you're like, okay, I didn't see that last time. Oh my God, look at that. Look at look how she moved from this. Look at the sound. She got the most detailed, crisp sound that any dancer would have just missed it nowadays and forgot about it. It's like it needs for everybody. It needs these things, magnifying glasses. Every artist that tells me that the old days they dance simply, please take it back, because you're mistaken. You need a magnifying glasses, because your eyes are not educated yet. You know, nowadays we are the new art, the new presentation of the art form is very simple. Yeah, I now can sit down and predict what's coming. Oh, it's going to be or it's going to be this, it's going to be that, you know, and it's very rigid and very
predictable.
Yeah, predictable and at your face. You are not leaving the audience to observe you and observe you very calmly. You are really feeding them and forcing it at their face and forcing it at their throat. And that's not art. Art is something that's free, and the people just, their eyes can't get it off, because they are just attracted to it. And you need that. You need to let that, you need the audience to come to you with their eyes, you know, instead of you straight to them and it's just the way. Yeah, there's a lot I can talk about, Stephanie, about that.
And I'm so happy hear you. So
yeah,
the last question is about ballet. What do you think about maybe we can see a different style of ballet, like soft ballet and modern ballet, new ballet? What do you think about it?
Okay, يعني think about it this way. Can you say history modernized history? You know what I mean? I will tell you the story about Napoleon Bonaparte with today, and I'll tell you Napoleon Bonaparte story yesterday, and then tomorrow. Come on, history is history, guys. You know, this is culture. You cannot change it. Oriental, your mise en scène is about you. You can put your personality in it, whether your personality is modern or personality classique, like a very old, like myself in the head, you know, or your personality is this or that. It's you, whatever is you are, is you presented there, right? Except of course the sections that folkloric in it. But when you're talking about ballet woman, it's a character that exists in a particular time, still exists, but not as strong as before. Do you see what I mean? And it has a specific criteria, a specific details of costuming, of music, of everything, you know? So there's nothing called new ballady or old ballady, you know. When you say new, if the only thing I could say new or old, it's the music. this music, it was just composed yesterday with my musician, but the other one was done 30 years ago or whatever. That's the only thing you can do. But as if the representation of the character, there's no such a thing. No such a thing. I'm sorry to tell you this, but this is the truth. All of us, when I want to be a baladi woman, I'm completely not nada. I have to go to those little streets and think about this character and become it. You know, I know maybe a lot of you know me and a lot of you don't know me, but if you know me in person, I'm actually a very shy person and a very serious person. I have a degree in law, for God's sake. You know, I'm a lawyer actually, and a very serious person. I'm completely the opposite of the baladi character. You know. So, but in order for me to repertoire that character, I have to completely forget about now, forget about nada, forget about everything, and I become possessed with this history and the story and the style and the expressions, details, everything. So I'm sorry to tell you, there's no such a thing as new baladi, old baladi, modern baladi. It just doesn't exist.
Whatever baladi.
Whatever baladi, exactly. There's no such a thing. Yeah.
And maybe it's a different kind of baladi. Maybe they want to talk about the music. If it's a taksim and baladi or a progressive baladi, it could
I
be.
mean, we have different type of music for baladi. You know, we have tableaus for baladi. We have just a song for baladi. We have an instrumental baladi. We have awadi progressions, which is just the ta'sim, which is usually inside the tableau. You know, that's different. That's still not a single Egyptian artist can dare to invent in baladi. Do you know what I mean? He cannot dare to invent in baladi. Do you see what I mean? Like when Egyptian artists composing a new piece of baladi, all they're doing is they're going with their imagination to the old time and picking up here and making a new composition. That's all it is. Nobody says, oh, wait a minute, I may just put some tango in this baladi. No, because they know that if somebody heard it, they're going to say, okay, what is this? It's baladi. No, it is not baladi. Khalas, it's not baladi. It's non-arif, it's not baladi. And I always say, if you have, I'm not saying, like I know that some artists from different country are playing baladi and they're putting their flavor of their country in it, you know. It's fine. It's your creativity, it's your idea, but don't call it baladi. Take credit and say, I made something inspired by this, you know. Yes. And take credit for your invention. Or are you scared? If you're scared, then it's not good. You know, it's not very good then. So, but don't call it baladi and don't teach people that because it's wrong information. My name is Nada. I cannot be Nada and Stephanie in the same time. Stephanie in the same time. I'm either Nada or Stephanie. You know, if for some reason my name started to be Na Stefan, then I'm going to say I invented a new name for myself.
No, it's not.
So let's keep it this way.
Yes, it is very clear because maybe we are confused about what is baladi, what is not baladi, or if we can make this is my own baladi.
Yeah. Or like there are specific moves, curriculum, material. Baladi, you will not do high shaniz in baladi. You will not do a hair flip or tossing in baladi. There are stuff you just shouldn't be doing in baladi. You know, you cannot do baladi in two pieces. It just all these stuff affects the style and affects the presentation of your idea. And believe me, it's for your best interest. For your best interest, if you put the idea within its dress and its right environment, you're going to create a humongous audience for yourself because you are showing a different side of you. But if everything you dance is still Oriental or still have some inspiration of Oriental in it, so what's the point? Then don't dance baladi. Don't worry about baladi. Then forget about it. You know, what's the point? Why did you change costume just for the sake of changing costumes? It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to understand where your body energy is, where the idea is, where this idea developed, how these people felt, what they said, what they talked, how they talked, and all this. We are actors, singers, and dancers in one body. The most difficult job in the world, you know?
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree. Sometimes, and that's why I want to ask you this question, and I'm trying to make getting more information and trying to make and understand that there's only a ballet with a different interpretation by every dancer, but we have to respect the culture, we have to respect the tradition, and we are representing our culture, our country, so we cannot do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, absolutely. And the baladi style has so many characters. You can choose. You will never get sick. I've been famous for baladi now for the last since 2012. 2012. This is 8 years. 8 years. 8 years where everybody marked me into the baladi style, right? 8 years. I've only presented one character of the baladi. I may die and not present all of them. You will never get bored. You have many characters. Remember when I explained in the workshop what the characters are and how every character has its own dynamic and own personality, and you can choose the one that represents you more and the one that you feel yourself in it, or the one that makes you famous or makes you gifted in it and all that stuff. Like you don't need to fuse it. It's already rich. It's already super rich that you can eat one spoon. Every 8 years you need one spoon. You know?
It's very, I think in this modern world, it's very difficult to try to make a more original and not being so going with the fashion or going with the new styles and not representing the culture in a good way. So it's very difficult for us as a dancer, as Occidental dancers, but we have to learn. We have to understand and respect the culture and learn from many ways to make the ballet, but in a correct form.
Yes. We're not making you a copycat, and we're not making you a cookie cutter. We're just it's going to be nada doing baladi. You know what I mean? It's still going to be everyone. Like, I'm sure if you've seen my baladi is not the same as other artists, every one of us has its own significant and their own like their heart isn't there, because our hearts are not, we're not all the same. We're all different personality, but we're sticking with the roots. We're sticking with the roots. That's the important thing, you know?
Exactly.
Make your own conversation, but it's the same language.
Exactly. So we can improve our own style, our own personality, but respecting the roots, respecting the just respecting the Oriental.
Yeah, you know what? This is the thing. You're not respecting just the culture. You're respecting yourself before the culture. You know, exactly. When you represent, I always say it. If you are going to call yourself professional, hello, sister. We are now in it together. Okay, you are as responsible as me in this art form. You are as ambassador of this art form as me. We are all responsible to give the right information, and that's why we need to study, and that's why we need to know. Don't think we don't study. We all study. Not a single, I would like to see an Egyptian artist that tells you I don't study. And I'm sure they cannot say that. I'm sure they cannot say that, because the truth is we're always studying. We're always studying. You know?
Perfect. So let's answer some questions for the girls who are watching us. Chicas, si tienen alguna pregunta que le quieran hacer a la maestra. Nada. We have to wait because we are with a different time in the streaming, so the transmission. So, chicas, si tienen alguna pregunta, las voy a leer por la transmisión. Mm. They are talking about the mawal
Yep.
and how we can understand the mawal.
The mawal, like, okay, well, first you need to understand the definition of mawal. And the definition of mawal is a vocal melody, okay? A vocal melody that are done sometimes with no music at all, or sometimes just a little, some beautiful background behind it, just to give it a little bit of texture, you know? And what it is basically a vocal melody. The singing of the words is exaggerated over and over and over using the same word or more than one word or a story, right? And that's when the dancers is, instead of dancing to music, she's actually dancing to that melody that is coming out of the singer's mouth. So you're referring to the word as the phrase of melody. So if he said Yalil, right? Yalil ya aini, right? So that la 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 la, that becomes your melody. So you are dancing to that. We have different type of mawals. We have mawal hur and mawal, and so basically the difference between both types is that a mawal, that basically if we have a song and we have that starts with a mawal, and it has a specific structure and counts to that mawal. So the singer has to finish the mawal within that timing, and it has to be exactly the same way. So this way, when the rest of the musician continues the piece of music, they can all come together at one time. And you hear this in some of the classical pieces. You would see it starting with mawal and then moves into the piece itself, and then sometimes mawal that can go on like a storytelling, right? So the singer would just take a story, and he elaborated to get emotion from the audience, and he only finishes when he feels to finish, and then he'll give the signal to the rest of the musician to start, and that's him taking his time to do that and to answer and to get the orchestra to come with him. Us as a dancer, the mawal is of course very melodic, and that's why it's very difficult to dance to, because it's just melody, and you are using the melody. You're pretending to hear percussion work, imaginary percussion work there, right, in the melody, because if he tremolo his voice, then that's giving you a little bit of percussion work. If he triples his voice, he's giving you some accent to work with, all the stuff. So it just needs more sophistication to be able to work with it, and it needs, most of all, is understanding what he is talking about. And usually mawal refers to wisdom of some sort. Before I say the story, I'm saying something happened that leads us into a wisdom, and that's what the song is going to be about, telling that story.
Okay, so we have to see the mawal as an instrument who is giving us a melody. So we have to follow as any instrument.
Yes, think about it as a vocal melody. It's a vocal melody, yes.
And other question is, who is your favorite dancer for a golden era?
Yeah, come on, you all know that already. I really, okay, let me start by, I love all of them and I'm obsessed with all of them, but I feel that my soul kind of goes close to Samia Gamal, I believe. Like I feel, I don't know, I just feel her more. She's not too serious. Yeah, in dance I'm not too serious. In real life I'm too serious, but in dance I feel like I'm not too serious, like with the character.
So, which is your favorite folkloric dance?
Oh, do I have to choose? Okay, I have to say something. I don't know, because I really love all of them very much. It's so hard to choose, and I know, I get asked this question so many times, and everybody thinks it's baladi, but it's not baladi. No, no. I just really love all of them, and I always saw myself in موشحات. I don't know why, but I always felt that موشحات and Saidi are very close to my heart. But I guess people make you famous in whatever they think you're good at. So it's not you. Yeah. So you have to believe people. Yeah. So I can't choose. It's a very difficult question.
Yeah, all of us think that your favorite is baladi.
I know.
Okay, so that's they are all the questions. We don't have more. Chicas, ¿no hay otra pregunta? Okay, creo que no. So thank you so much, Nada, for being here, for sharing your time with us, for answers all the questions, for answer my crazy questions, I know. But we are so happy for have you here, and more happy to see you in November. So we have much things to learn from you. So I was thinking maybe I have to change the workshops. I don't know the items. I don't know what we want to learn everything about you from you. So we have to think.
Thank you, no problem at all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, too. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you all.
Thank you so much, and we see you hopefully in November.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bueno, chicas, pues muchísimas gracias. Así terminamos nuestro primer día del festival en línea. Espero que les haya gustado bastante esta pequeña entrevista con la maestra Nada, que les haya dejado pues como esta cosquillita de querer saber más, de querer aprender más, de investigar los temas que abordamos con ella. En el workshop que vamos a tener en noviembre vamos a trabajar, por supuesto, baladi, vamos a trabajar la postura el trabajo de pies para folclore, porque es muy importante. Lo que le decía la maestra, no es aprender folclore por aprender, ni solamente a mover el bastón y ya está, o solamente a hacer los gestos y ademanes de bambuti, sino es aprender mucho más a fondo y tratar de traer esa técnica de folclore a nuestra técnica de danza oriental. Entonces, las invito a quienes todavía están pendientes de inscribirse o no al workshop de Nada. Hay muchísimas cosas para aprender de ella, técnicamente, culturalmente, de cuestiones teóricas, cuestiones de rítmicas, muchísimo por aprender. Y bueno, también los invito a que me dejen sus sugerencias de qué temas les gustaría estudiar con ellas. Yo sé que tenemos que estudiar baladi y trabajo de pies, eso es sí o sí, porque son temas que no todos los maestros están abordando de la forma en que ella lo está haciendo. Entonces me parece súper importante, y si ustedes tienen otra opción de tema que quisieran aprender con ella, es muy bien recibida, porque me van a ayudar bastante a enriquecer nuestro temario de la capacitación integral. Bueno, por hoy es todo. Espero que hayan disfrutado las dos entrevistas. Podemos concluir de la información que nos compartieron las maestras es que el estudio de folclore es sumamente importante, que nos va a dar, además de seguridad en escenario, como decía Tatiana, nos va a dar esa pauta para empezar a crear un estilo propio, como dice Nada, y todo se concentra en eso, en respetar nuestra danza, en prepararnos, en estudiar folclore, en estudiar con diferentes maestros para enriquecer nuestro propio vocabulario y nuestro propio estilo de danza, y disfrutar y respetar. Entonces, no las puedo leer, bueno, déjenme abrir por acá para poderlas leer, porque aquí yo no tengo el chat activo. Entonces, bueno, déjenme por aquí sus comentarios, las leo en un ratito para saber qué otro tema les gustaría aprender con Nada. Y nos vemos mañana a las 2 de la tarde para iniciar las clases con la maestra María Isabel Ángel y posteriormente con la maestra Tatiana por la tarde. Entonces, descansen, que tengan una muy bonita noche. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí, por hacer posible nuestro festival en línea. Estoy muy feliz de que podamos tener este espacio para distraernos, para relajarnos y para no dejar pasar nuestro mayo de Reinas del Nilo. Entonces, descansen, chicos. Muchísimas gracias y nos vemos mañana.